Hey, I wanted to do this video. I thought I was going to save this until my live on Tuesday. But this is heating up so hot and fast that I wanted to come on and do this video. And what I'm going to talk about is James Talarico, who's running for Senate, against Jasmine Crockett in Texas. And we always knew that it would turn racial, right? I mean, it had to at some point because it's just the world we're living in. And this is Texas. And we thought that James Talarico had set off a firestorm last week with Colin Allred. Well, there is a new firestorm, and Black women ain't having it. They're just not having it. They're not having it. They're not having it. And I don't know how James Talarico is going to make this right. I don't know, with the primary starting next week. I have said all along that this race is the Democrats' race to lose, and that the Democrats would have to snatch victory out of the jaws of, would have to snatch defeat out of the jaws of victory. And if it keeps on this track, they will. Now, I'm going to play about 3 videos. I'm gonna play the one from the sister who had the conversation with Talarico, the one that we talked about last week, that everybody in the world knew about last week, where supposedly he called Colin Allred a mediocre man. But he said he didn't say that he actually said he was speaking of him running a mediocre campaign. Well, that didn't sit well at all with Black people. It didn't sit well at all with women, and it just didn't. And it didn't sit well with the sister that apparently had this conversation, because she has taken a lot of it's just been tremendous attacks against her. And here recently, and why I wanted to jump on this video, because now there is an ad. Apparently, there is a PAC now behind James Talarico, and it's called the Lone Star Rising PAC. Now, campaigns and PACs don't communicate with one another. Supposedly the campaign, now legally how it's supposed to work is that campaigns don't have any contact with these PACs that's out there raising money for them, blah, 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 blah. So this PAC now, on the heels of this Allred thing that came out today, Lone Star Rising PAC, which has raised over $3 million for Talarico, has launched an attack ad against Jasmine Crockett. Now, this ad has been out there a couple of days or so, I guess, but it is picking up steam, and Black women are not having it, especially coming off the horrific, coming off the hurtful race with Kamala Harris, and so many of us got behind Vice President Kamala Harris. I did with the evangelicals for Kamala Harris, and then of course there was a Black women's group for Kamala Harris, and now there's this group. I mean, it's not a group. But Black women are in an uproar about how Talarico, this PAC, this Lone Star Rising PAC, this ad that they have run against, that is running against Jasmine Crockett. Now, on top of that, everything in politics boils down to strategy and money. The better your strategy, the better your campaign, the more money you have, the less stress you have. Well, James Talarico is a money machine. The latest totals that were released, I think it was either today or yesterday. Let me show you. Let me show you this. James Talarico has raised $20 million. That's $20 million since his launch. 7.4 million so far this year. Now, keep in mind, it's only February 13th. We're only 2 months into the year, right? And he has raised so far $7.4 million. Now that came out today in the Texas Tribune. $290,000 290,000 individual donors and zero from corporate PACs. Now we're going to get to this difference between the corporate PAC and the PAC that's these PACs that can run in that can run for these campaigns, but these campaigns but legally they don't mix. So when he says zero from corporate PACs, he means zero from corporate PACs that his campaign has taken. But there is a separate that allows campaigns that that run on behalf of campaigns, but ne'er the two shall meet. However, these other PACs can run on behalf of a campaign, and that is what is happening with James Talarico with Lone Star Rising PAC, that has spent a total of $3.4 million on ads on his behalf, and it is an attack ad against Jasmine Crockett. And that's why Black women are in an uproar. And I'm going to show you the ad that has Black women so upset with James Talarico. Now, James Talarico has a ways to go when it comes to Black voters, because he has absolutely hardly any. Well, he does have support among Black voters, but in the scheme of things, it's not important to his campaign right now. Notice I said right now, because right now he has a majority of white voters. He has, although Jasmine Crockett, a recent poll came out that had her leading among Latino voters. That poll was from the University of Houston. I think it was only a sampling of 500 and something people. But James Talarico has been endorsed by Bobby Polito. He has all these ads out in Spanish, and we will see. Back to this, what's got people in an uproar. Not only has James Talarico raised all of this money, $20 million since his launch, and now the most recent report is $7.4 million since this year. On the other side of that, Congresswoman Crockett has only raised, now we don't have her report. She has not released a report since December. And the report that she did release, she's raised $6.5 million in the fourth quarter of 2025. However, of that $6.5 million raised in the last quarter, now we don't have her most recent report. She has not released that report. Of that $6.5 million that was released at the end of 2025, 4.5 million of that 6.5 million was a transfer from her house accounts. I'm going to say it again because I want you to understand what that means. I know y'all get it. She's reported raising $6.5 million. That was the last quarter of 2025. We don't have her most recent report as we do Talarico, who has raised $7.4 million since the beginning of the year. We don't have that same report for Jasmine Crockett, for Congresswoman Crockett. But the report that we do have from her is the last quarter, which was $6.5 million. But of that $6.5 million, $4.5 million of that was transferred from her house account. Meaning she really didn't raise $6.5 million. She transferred $4.5 million from her house account. And y'all, that is never, ever a good sign. Ever a good sign. James Talarico, I'm put the number because again, not only has James Talarico raised a total of $20 million since launching his campaign, and $7.5, almost $7.5 million just, this year, and it's only February 13th. What is troubling and what should be troubling for the Crockett campaign is this. 95%. Now, this is according to his campaign. 95% of his contributions are $100 or less from individual donors. Not only that, according to his campaign, there are 254 counties in Texas. You've heard me say that over and over. If you've listened to my show, if you've been part of our conversation on Tuesday night, there are 254 counties in Texas. 254. James Talarico has reported that of 254 counties in Texas, he has received contributions from 254 counties, which means he has received contributions from every county in Texas. 254. Not only that, not only has he received money from every county in Texas, but he has received over 500,000 donations. I'm gonna say it again because that is absolutely crazy. James Talarico has received contributions from all 254 counties in Texas. That's East Texas, North Texas, West Texas, and South Texas. And y'all, Texas is a very, very big state. He's received money from every county. Not only that, according to his campaign, he has received over 500,000 donations from 500,000 people in 254 counties. That's incredible. That is incredible. But what has him on the hot seat is this. I'll go back to that Lone Star Rising PAC, what has Black women in an uproar with James Talarico, and he has some ground to make up. Because even now, if you look at his campaign, he has made headway into Black communities. I think now he's making a push for that. We started early voting, next week? But Jasmine Crockett has a solid 71 to 75% support from African Americans in the state. Now, Texas has, and y'all heard me say this before, Texas has the highest number of any other state of Black voters. In Texas, we have 2.9 million Black voters in the state of Texas alone. 13 to 14% of that makes up the electorate. 71 to 75% of those nearly 3 million voters that are Black voters, that's the largest, number of Black voters in any state. Hands down, Jasmine Crockett has the majority of that. Hands down. But what Jasmine Crockett does not have is money. And what Jasmine Crockett does not have, as far as we can tell, because it hasn't been reported, is a Lone Star Rising PAC that's out there raising money for her and doing these ads. James Talarico on his own has spent $8.8 million in ads alone. His campaign has spent $8.8 million. Y'all, we talk about big money. Okay, big money. Now, the $8.8 million he has spent on ads, that's his. The $20 million total in donations that he has received, that's his. Of that $20 million, every county in Texas, his campaign reports, has contributed to his campaign. 500,000 donations from people across the state of Texas has contributed to his campaign. And 95% or less, according to his campaign, are donors that have given $100 or less. Now, we know that two things wins elections. Number one is money. Number two is voters. And right now, Congresswoman Crockett, even though she is leading in the most latest poll, she lags far behind when it comes to money. Now, let's get to this money thing, and let's get to the Black women, and let's get to why there is an uproar with James Talarico when it comes to Black women. Let's start with you. We all remember. Let's see. This one is what started it all. And I'm gonna paint a picture here for you, so that at the end of this, you will understand what this fight is about, and the fight that James Talarico has on his hands, and the fight that the Democrats in Texas have on their hand, and the possibility of them snatching defeat out of the jaws of victory. But let's start with what started it all, and it was this.
That he signed up to run against a mediocre Black man, not a formidable and intelligent Black woman. And I want to explain why this is problematic, especially as he shifted his current approach in the Texas Senate race. Now, before I get into the conversation that led to this comment, I want to put it out there that I supported Talarico and planned on voting for him before Jasmine Crockett joined the race. I'm voting for James Talarico. So I planned on voting for him when he was running against Colin Allred, the mediocre Black man that he's referring to. Now, no matter how you feel about Colin Allred, the man is an attorney, a former professional football player, and a former congressman. But I'm not bringing this forward because I want to bring any more negativity to this race. I care way too much about Texas to do something like that. But I do think it is my responsibility to bring something like this forward. And I do think it also indicates some things that are pretty important when it comes to how he's moving with his campaign. The obvious intimidation of Jasmine Crockett, along with the racially charged disrespect of Colin Allred as a Black man, indicates something deeper than just a overly familiar comment that is coded in a compliment for a Black woman. This explained to me why he would jump at the opportunity to play victim at just the mere thought as anything other than positive being out about him. And it also explains why he would say something like PAC ads is what she planned on doing, when the actual video he's referring to says nothing of the sort. Using this language when you have the privilege of being a white man, when people across the political spectrum are also using the angry Black woman that's aggressive trope to attack her, is microaggressive. That's why I previously stated that this is an indication of his insecurity around his candidacy, or it's indicating that he has something to hide. So getting into the conversation that led to the comment from James, I was angry and concerned after receiving an email and a text message from James Carville on Talarico's behalf for donations. James Carville is a Democratic strategist that has made comments recently about the need for Democrats to drop woke politics, and even wrote an article in November for the New York Times saying exactly that. And I'm always going to advocate for Black people because I don't care about how much you talk about affordability, housing, healthcare, or whatever. If woke politics is not included in that, which directly impacts Black people, then we're left out of that conversation and policy. So I made that known to the campaign as someone that has a possibility of sitting in that seat. Now, up until this comment, the conversation was going well. That's why it threw me off so much to have a white man say this to a Black woman who is coming to him with concerns in relation to him for Black people. That is why multiple people and news sources that have stated that he's working with Liz Smith, a consultant that's known for smearing competitors and campaigns, sounds credible to me, even though the campaign keeps saying that they're not, even though they've stated otherwise previously. Creators talk to him both individually and collectively, and multiple of us have caught him lying to us. Now, I stand by my statements that he's way better than Ken Paxton, who's the current frontrunner for Republicans, and a terror that we're trying to protect the rest of the country from. But this isn't someone I feel comfortable being in office when we have a truly amazing candidate like Jasmine Crockett as an option. So yes, I'm voting for Jasmine Crockett for Senate, and I encourage you to do so as well.
Morning, everybody. It's cold out here, and I got some steam coming off my head because I'm, just finished my workout. Got some steam coming on my ears too. I understand that James Talarico had the temerity and the audacity to say to a Black woman that he had signed up to run against a mediocre Black man, meaning me, not a formidable, intelligent Black woman, meaning Jasmine Crockett. Let me just break this down into a few segments here. First of all, let me just give you some free advice, James. If you want to compliment Black women, just do it. Just do it. Don't do it while also tearing down a Black man, okay? We've seen that play before. We're sick and tired of it. We're tired of folks using praise for Black women to mask criticism for Black men. That's not good for our community. It's not good. It doesn't work, and we know what you're doing. Okay, so if next time you want to praise a Black woman, just do that. Leave Black men out of it. Just leave a lot of things out of it. Second of all, did you ever have a coach or somebody, a leader in your life tell you that when you make an accusation, you often have a bit of confession in it? Maybe you use the word mediocre because there's something creeping into your mind about yourself. Because I know you're not talking about somebody who's been better at 3 things than you've ever been at 1. You are not saving religion for the Democratic Party or the left. We already had Senator Reverend Dr. Raphael Warnock for that. We don't need you. You're not saying anything unique. You're just saying it looking like you do. Okay? And third of all, let me just say to all the young Black men out there, all the young men who come from tough background, struggle growing up, who maybe think that someday you want to put yourself forward as a leader in your community. It's going to have haters like this are going to show up, okay? And you're going to feel like you have to be twice as good and jump twice as high and talk twice as well. But you don't have to. You can walk out there with your shoulders back and your head held up high, knowing who you are and the value that you bring, and understanding that this comes with the territory and that there's going to be folks like this. And when we see them, we should say thank you. Thank you for taking off the mask. Thank you for telling us who you really are and what you really think. And goodbye, okay? Because we're on our way and we don't need you to come with us and we don't need your help to get there. So with that being said, go vote for Jasmine Crockett. This man should not be our nominee for the United States Senate. I wasn't gonna get involved in this race, but listen, don't come for me unless I send for you. Okay, James? And keep my name out of your mouth while you're at it.
James.
So that was what we all knew, and that's from last week, and that's what started it all. This Lone Star Rising PAC is causing a firestorm now, a new firestorm now with Black people, especially Black women. And well, it should. I am going to show you the ad that is running on behalf of James Talarico that is sponsored by Lone Star Rising PAC. Lone Star Rising PAC, I will keep saying, it is not connected to the James Talarico campaign, because there are PACs that run ads and do things on behalf of campaigns, and the two are not connected. So, I want to be fair, because I am fair, and this is analysis, and this is not taking sides or anything like that. This is informational, because this platform is to educate and inform, to help you make the best decisions when it comes to voting in this primary and even beyond that. So the next clip I'm going to show you is the actual clip that is now causing a firestorm in Texas among Black women and among Black voters. And it is from Lone Star Rising PAC. And let's take a look at it.
Two Democrats running for Senate in Texas. Jasmine Crockett is the only one being backed by Republicans. They spent money to lift her up and push her into this race. Here's why.
She is their favorite candidate because they think that they can beat her.
So with all that's at stake and absolutely everything on the line, remember this: if she wins,
it is a gift to Republicans.
We lose. Lone Star Rising PAC is responsible for the content of this ad. Two Democrats running for Senate.
Okay. Okay. That is the ad now on the heels of the Allred incident. That is the ad now that is accusing Congresswoman Crockett of being, in essence, an asset for the Republicans. Now, I will talk about this on Tuesday night on my live, but the Republicans did do a dirty thing from the beginning. They ran a false poll, and they did it intentionally to show that Congresswoman Crockett should get in the Senate race, and it showed her being popular and that she should get in the Senate race. I'm going to talk about that next Tuesday, but it was bogus. And it was from the Republicans. And that's why this ad that you just saw, sponsored by Lone Star Rising PAC, in essence accusing Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett of being an asset of the Republicans, saying that if she wins, we lose. That ad has caused a firestorm throughout Texas. The next clip I'm going to show you is related to that ad. It's another sister is talking in response to this ad, which does not bode well for James Talarico. Let's look at this one. Let's look at this sister, and you will see what I am talking about. This is not good. This is not good for the Democrats, and it is not good for James Talarico.
They say it like a threat. If she wins, we lose. I've been watching this race from a distance, and I've tried not to add to the noise, but after hearing that, I can't stay quiet. Let's look at the ad clip I'm
If she
talking about.
wins,
It is a gift to Republicans.
we lose.
So, James
Lone Star
Talarico,
Rising PAC is responsible.
because it's 2026, 100 years into this country's tradition of honoring Black history, and an outside group supporting you is still comfortable ending an ad with a line that lands like the loudest dog whistle ever. James, your campaign put out a statement that you weren't involved in the Lone Star Rising PAC ad, but you also did not denounce the ad and its clear racist dog whistle. So let me answer that whistle as a Gen Z Black woman, Democrat, attorney, educator, daughter, sister, cousin, and soror. When she wins, Black girls win because they get to see possibility without permission. Black mothers win because someone is finally speaking to what they carry. Black families win because our voices are not a bargaining chip. They are part of the backbone of democracy. Maybe we're not the we you and your friends had in mind, but we are the we that votes. We are the we that shows up. We are the we that refuses to be reduced to somebody else's warning label. And I'm not saying this calmly because I'm tired of watching our dignity treated like a political tactic. So here's what I know. We do not shrink. We do not let it slide. And we certainly do not stay quiet. We turn that whistle into a rallying cry. We turn that insult into momentum. And we turn that we lose into a lesson at the ballot box. James, if you want to know who we are, watch who shows up. Watch who votes. Watch who wins. They say it like a threat.
Okay. So that is the, she expressed the anger that so many Black women, not only Black women, but Black people are feeling because of this ad from Lone Star Rising PAC. And again, I will say that Lone Star Rising PAC is not connected to the James Talarico campaign. However, as the young woman said, it's not that he doesn't know about it. And it is a problem. And it is going to be a growing problem. And as it gets closer to the election, with this influx of money that James Talarico has from all over the state and even from outside of the state, and you heard her saying that even James Carville, national white Democrats have weighed in on this race in favor of James Talarico. And I'm going to keep going back to this. Black people in the state of Texas, there are 2.9 million, which make up the largest Black voting bloc in any state in the union. 13 to 14% of the electorate in the state of Texas are Black voters. 71 to 75% so far represents the firewall for Congresswoman Crockett. That number is not going to go anywhere. And unless James Talarico is successful, if he is the nominee, and I'm going to get to that later as I close this down, there even now needs to be among Democrats. And as I say, this platform, you are here because you are an independent. You are here because you're tired of the performative religion and all of that. This platform is not partisan at all. It is informational and educational. James Talarico and the Democrats have a whole lot of mending of the fences to make when it comes to Black voters. Even now, just going into the primary, if James Talarico is the victor out of the primary, it's going to be very, very difficult to mend these very deep and deepening wounds. The last video that I'm going to show you is of a political consultant who speaks to this in a different way, but she speaks of it in the way that I am too, in that, excuse me, if Democrats don't get it together, if this rift grows wider between the attack ad on Congresswoman Crockett and the visceral reaction, you saw that young sister say, "Hey, I cannot not take this and not say anything." She represents that 71 to 75% firewall that is Congresswoman Crockett, that James Talarico cannot win without, even if he comes out of the primary, because that represents 13 to 14% of the electorate in Texas. Because Black voters are the highest of any state in the union at 2.9 million. I'm talking about voters. So let's take a look at this last video. And this one is from a white woman. This is from a consultant, and we will see what she has to say. And then we're going to come back and we're going to wrap this up, and we will continue this on Tuesday Night Live. But like I said, I know it's Valentine's weekend, but y'all, this is the most important election Texas has had in 30 years, in 3 decades. And we have to be on top of what's going on. So let's look at this last video, and I will be back.
So we have to talk about what's going on with the Senate race in Texas between Jasmine Crockett and James Talarico. From a strategy standpoint, first, I just want to remind everybody, it's all of us against the white supremacists, against the fascists. We can't lose sight of that. Whatever's going on right now with what may or may not have been said behind the scenes by James Talarico against Allred, that's going to be up to James Talarico to work through. But I want everybody to know this. At the end of the day, either James or Jasmine are going to win the Democratic primary. And I can't stress enough that we have to coalesce and support whoever that winner is, because they're going to be running against, it looks like, Ken Paxton. Shall we talk about Ken Paxton? When you talk about white supremacist, he's a 10 out of 10. When you talk about pro-Israel, he's a 10 out of 10. When you talk about removing all of women's rights and removing the rights of our LGBTQ, it's a 10 out of 10. When you talk about alignment with Project 2025, it's a 10 out of 10. This is a very, very bad man. And what I'm concerned about, politics gets ugly. And of course, you're going to create hit pieces, or you're going to find dirt, you're going to do whatever so that you can knock your opponent out. But on the Democratic side, we can't do it in a way where James Talarico wins. He ends up losing to Ken Paxton because there's a lot of Black voters who no longer trust him. I can tell you right now, with the video that Allred made, what he said to Talarico, Republicans are posting it everywhere. They love what's happening. Right now, this battle between James Talarico and Jasmine, the people who support Jasmine, it's candy, it's music, it's giving Republicans a bunch of wins. Guys, here's the scoop. If Jasmine wins, only 13% of the registered voters in Texas are Black voters. But we need them. We need them if James wins. We need them. But even if Jasmine wins, Texas has the highest Black population. We all have to work on getting more Black people registered to vote, because to this day, they've been systemically suppressed. They've been politically suppressed. They feel like their votes don't matter. This was all by design. Like, these are the things we have to work on. We have to beat Ken Paxton. I have to tell you, this is a Senate seat we also need to win. It's going to be very hard for Democrats to get control of the Senate at midterms, extremely hard. But this is the one seat we need. So we have to be very careful. The final thing I want to say is, the country that starts with an I, they create a lot of hit pieces. Okay, I'm not saying they're behind this James Talarico hit piece. I'm not. But we have to be very concerned about it because both Jasmine and James have said very problematic things in the eyes of the country that starts with an I. And I would say that Jasmine, if I had to rank it, is about a 7 out of 10 in terms of calling out Israel. And Talarico is about an 8 out of 10. Neither one of them are like a 10 out of 10. That would be somebody like Mayor Zohran Mamdani. But that's enough for Israel to create hit pieces against both of them. I could see them trying to eliminate James right out of the starting gate with hit pieces because he has called it a G-side. He's used those words. And then if they help Jasmine win, then they're going to turn and they're going to create hit pieces against Jasmine, ultimately because they want Ken Paxton to win. Now, don't get mad at me. I'm just talking from a campaign strategy standpoint, and the powers that be that are getting directly involved with our democratic politics. So please keep that in mind. So we have.
Okay. So that's the other side of that. But either way, it's troubling and it's concerning. And if the Democrats hope to win, they're going to have to figure out a way to mend this rift and this growing rift, this growing racial rift. James Talarico made a statement, and I'm going to share that statement with you. In the Texas Tribune, he said, "It's incumbent upon me to introduce myself to Black voters across the state to try and earn their trust, earn their respect, and hopefully earn their support," Talarico said in a statement. "There's no way to win Texas without Black voters, full stop. So I'm listening to their concerns and engaging with the community so that they know they have a place in this campaign." He has a long way to go. A statement is not going to go very far. He is going to have to do something in the affirmative to mend these fences, because if not, Black people are not going to come out. They're just not going to come back out in November, because we're coming off the heels of Vice President Kamala Harris. We see what we have in Donald Trump. Now, I'm not comparing Talarico to Donald Trump. Don't get me wrong. They are not cut out of the same cloth. But for many voters, he is a white man. And for many voters, not only has a former congressman, Black man, been insulted supposedly by this white man, now this PAC that's acting on behalf of James Talarico, Lone Star, and I want you to remember Lone Star Rising PAC, it is insulting to Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. So it is as if, we used to say, I'm just the old East Texas country girl. We used to have this saying, throw the rock, but hide your hand. And that's what it appears as though. I'm not saying that it is, but to a lot of Black people, especially Black women who are, and rightly so, it's like it's one thing after another attack on Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. However, and Colin Allred, however, James Talarico say, "Hey, I got clean hands and a clean heart. I don't have anything to do with Lone Star Rising. I don't have anything to do with that." But at the same time, he hasn't addressed it. So that's what's getting a lot of Black people. And to see Congresswoman Crockett, she doesn't have the money. She doesn't have the funds. She hasn't, nobody has, given her $20 million. She's had to transfer out of the $6.5 million that she's raised. She's had to transfer 4 point, what is it? 4 million or a little over 4 million from her campaign from her congressional campaign. So it's not like a level playing field. And I don't know what the answer is for the Democrats. Well, the answer obviously is, I guess they're just going to float this thing and just see how it comes out in the primary. But there is a lot of anger. There is a lot of hurt feelings. And I have said this, and I have said this, and I have said this, that you can cause so much hard feelings and win the primary, but lose the prize. And the prize is November. And I'm going to end with this statement from a Democratic strategist. And he says this. He says, there's a lot of work that would have to be done if Talarico were to win the primary to get Black Crockett voters to come back, said Dallas Jones, a Democratic strategist. And that is the state of play for the Democrats. That is the state of play for the Democrats. I am Dorothy Burton. If you've not been here before, thank you for dropping in, and I hope to see you again. We do this live on Tuesday nights. We talk about it. We talk things out. And this is a place for people who appreciate analysis and just what the facts are. And that's what we do here. So thank you for dropping by, and I will prayerfully see you on Tuesday. But Democrats, you guys have a lot of work to do, and the primaries start next week. And like this strategist said, there is a lot of work that would have to be done if Talarico were to win the primary to get Black Crockett voters to come back. And we're talking about, she has her firewall is 71 to 75% of the 2.9 million Black voters in Texas. So that's the state of play. And thank you for joining me, and see you soon.